Shall we get into Ukraine? NATO leaders have gotten together to send more weapons to Ukraine, and they're putting pressure on Germany to allow its tanks to go to the front line as well. But so far, the Germans are holding off, basically agreeing for their tanks to be exported. Alex, I'll pick up with you first on this. Many people are saying Britain should do more, put pressure on Germany, lead from the front. Should we?
Well, we're already sending, so yes, and indeed we have used the kind of flexibility and the approach that an independent and sovereign nation has to do a great deal to support Ukraine, and that's reflected by the popularity of our last Prime Minister in Ukraine and by the standing of British reputation amongst Ukrainians. But put that to one side, we are already sending tanks to Ukraine. They may not be as many as we might like. We may wish we had manufactured more, but that's where we are. The point about the German position is interesting. It's that the Leopard 2 that they are holding back, it's not actually that they're all in Germany. They've already been sold off to various different other countries like Poland and Finland, who want to send these devices to Ukraine to try and let the Ukrainians help themselves to fight off the aggressor that has invaded them wantonly in their own country. Germany is saying no, because if you export something to somebody, you may, depending on the contract, have the ability to control in the licence onward export of those devices. And that's what the Germans are doing. When at the beginning of this conflict, after Russia invaded Ukraine, we, British, attempting to support the Ukrainians, had to fly sorties of materiel around German airspace over Denmark to get to Ukraine. I thought, how can the Germans get any lower than this? Those who were responsible for that, I talked to a couple of people in the logistics operation who said it's a non-trivial difference to try and have to fly around Germany to get to Ukraine. It meant you could take less and it took longer, and that meant a real difference in how much we could support Ukraine. Here again is Germany holding up the ability of the West to support those in Ukraine who've been invaded. Well, I thought that earlier today I saw Coghlan being interviewed on Nana's show, and he was pointing out that the Germans have a very long-standing relationship with the Russians and that they may wish to repair it. It may be that. Perhaps there are doves within the German community who think that by allowing these things to be sent to Ukraine, it would encourage further conflict and encourage the perception that it's NATO against Russia. There may be some of that too. But the motives can be debated. The outcome is not. They are significantly harming Ukraine's ability to defend itself, and I hope they change their mind quickly.
Do you agree, Paul Embry?
Not particularly, no. I mean, my concern is, what is the end game here? I mean, this war has been going on now for almost a year. I think next month it will be a year. I've been hearing for the last 11 months the Russians are going to lose the war, and they're going to lose it sometime soon. It doesn't seem to me that has come to fruition. Now, let me establish immediately, I think Putin's invasion was completely wrong. I deplore it unequivocally. But I don't think there are enough voices at the moment suing for peace. The reality is, like all wars, unless one party defeats the other comprehensively, then there's going to have to be some sort of settlement. And I don't think we're in a position at the moment where it looks like either Ukraine is about to defeat Russia or vice versa. So by piling more and more weapons into Ukraine, I think there's a danger we're just adding fuel to the fire. It's going to result in the loss of thousands of more lives. And would we not be better saying, look, at some point we need to broker a peace deal, we need to sue for peace? And it seems to me that whenever there's another...
Why is that the UK's job?
Well, I think if the UK is arrogating to itself the responsibility and the authority as some kind of policeman of the world, which we often do in this country, then actually you've got to try to sue for peace as well as banging the drum for war. And it seems to me we're quite good at doing the latter, not too good at doing the former, except where, if it's a conflict in another part of the globe where we don't think we've got any particular interest, then actually we're quite happy to say, oh, there needs to be negotiations, there needs to be a ceasefire, we need to have peace and so on. And it seems to me, and by the way, let me say, because I can see Alex champing at the bit to come in and say it, that it may well be that Putin is not interested in peace. It may well be that if an olive branch was offered, he would say, absolutely not interested.
Do you think Zelensky is?
I think actually there's evidence to say over the last year that on the occasions where he has attempted to offer an olive branch, he's quickly been put back in his box by Western powers, and it was pretty obvious that he wasn't prepared to do that again. But I think there's evidence to say that he was prepared, certainly at one point, to sue for peace. Now, you know, at the end of the day, we're all in the business of wanting to save lives, and it may well be, as I said, that Putin isn't prepared to accept the olive branch, in which case, so be it, then the war continues. But at least, for goodness sake, at least let's offer it and see if we can broker
Final
some
words
sort
to
of peace.
Alex?
Well, it seems to me Britain's got a pretty honourable record on these things, whether it be a guarantor power in Cyprus,
Come on, Alex,
Iraq, post-war Europe, and so forth. But, you know, I suppose for some,
Iraq,
you'll always want to look
Libya.
at... I'm very proud of Britain's legacy in the Middle East, and certainly I think we did the right thing in Iraq. And if you prefer Saddam Hussein, that would be a very surprising note on which
You're in a very small group of people if you think the Iraq war was... and I accept that doesn't by itself make you wrong, but...
Correct.
I'll tell you what that makes for a very interesting discussion that I'm going to make a note to self to have